probably means admission.
Welcome back to our postgraduate journalism open house. For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Tara Broom and I'm the Assistant Registrar of Admission and Academic Services, and I'm here with Kelly Tohill, who is the Director of our journalism program, and we get to move on to a discussion about our Master of Journalism program offered here at King's. And so Kelly, I thought we could start with an overview of what happens in our master streams, and we do have two.
Right, our master's program is, of course, I think it's really exciting because it's very different than other master's programs. We designed it for the future of journalism. It's only 2 years old, so we had the luxury of really looking at how the world has changed and designing a master's program for that. So this master's program is really for journalists who want to take their skills to the next level. It is not for people who just want the foundations of journalism.
Right.
Those people should come into our one-year program and then segue into the master's. So this is either for people who've done a Bachelor of Journalism or for mid-career journalists. So the entire program is based around digital journalism. All of the students take core classes in mobile reporting, in digital journalism, in social media. But all students also specialize, and there are two specializations. One is new ventures, and the other is investigative. So in the new ventures stream, the new ventures stream is for students who want to start their own thing. Now their thing may be, a new title within a magazine company. It may be something within an existing media company. It may be that they want to be a really effective freelancer in Africa and want the time and space to figure out their market and how to launch well. Or it may be a brand new online website or niche news site. So that new venture stream we designed because we think that journalists are increasingly going to be self-employed, and because we think that the really important sources of information for society 20 years from now are being started today.
Yes.
So we wanted to have a program that would really position journalists for the future. So that's one specialization. The other specialization is investigative journalism. And the investigative stream relies very heavily on data journalism. So this is an emerging area in journalism that there are actually a lot of jobs in data journalism we're finding. But there are new tools for journalists to be able to go get large amounts of data, analyze them, and tell stories, find the stories within them. So King's is a leader even in undergraduate in data journalism. We have Fred Valens-Jones, who literally wrote the book on computer-assisted reporting. Yeah. We've been running professional development seminars in the summer for years now on data journalism and investigative reporting. And for example, the undergraduate investigative workshop gets nominated for lots of awards, but this year was nominated for the first Global Data Journalism Award, sponsored by Google.
Wow.
And it was up against contenders like the Chicago Tribune and the LA Times. So we took 2 students to Paris for that award, which was really fun. But out of that, 2 of our master's students were invited to Kiev to attend the World Newspaper Association conference. They were the only journalism students that I know of anywhere who were invited to that. And it was because of the nature of the program that they're doing. And 2 more students will be going to Vienna in February to present on data journalism with Fred. So that's a very specialized stream. So the program starts in June.
Okay.
It runs through December, and then in the winter term, students do a professional project. The new venture students do, there's a bit of flexibility here, but basically they do a business plan or a lean canvas and a prototype for new business.
Right.
And the investigative students do a major investigative project, often in conjunction with a media partner. So some students may choose to do that outside of Halifax, and others will stay here to do that in the winter term.
Great.
So I think those are the highlights on the Master of Journalism. It's a very different program than most of the other master programs out there.
Excellent, and provides you with that opportunity to be mobile and to move around in the winter term if needed. We've got a whole series of questions from our audience, and I thought that we would address some of those now. And the first question is, what makes our program differ from other Master of Journalism programs offered at other institutions?
Well, several things. One is it's specialized. So most of the other programs are not specialized. Most of the other programs are designed for people who are really interested in journalism but don't have any background in it.
Right.
So in order to do our master program, you have to have foundational skills in journalism.
Right.
So that's really completely different than most other programs.
Absolutely.
And it's a very practical, pragmatic, professional-oriented program.
Yes.
So it does not have an academic thesis component.
Yes.
It really focuses more on practice than on theory. There is some theory in there as well, but so it is quite different.
And if you're just joining us, it is possible to do our one-year Bachelor of Journalism program, and that would qualify you to put in an application to the master program. So if you're sitting there going, oh, I wish I could do this master program, but I don't have that degree in journalism.
Actually, it gives you preferred status in the master's program because so much of our curriculum is based on what our students learn in the one-year Bachelor of Journalism.
Absolutely. And I think this is probably a good time for us to outline our admission requirements prior to dealing with some more of these wonderful questions that we're receiving. So for this program, we do look for a solid B average from your undergraduate degree. That said, if you're a journalist who's been working in the world for a number of years and has a beefy portfolio, maybe didn't get that B in your undergraduate degree, we do encourage you to apply. Even if you're just somebody coming directly out of your university degree, we do encourage all applicants to apply because it does give us an opportunity to adjudicate all of the applications and at least provide students with feedback on how they can be admissible in the future if they weren't admissible this time.
Isn't the threshold the last 2 years, B in the last 2 years?
That is correct. We do calculate the average based on your last 2 years of study. So that can be very helpful. I know many students spend some time finding themselves in the first couple of years of their degree. In addition to that, we do require that you fill out an application. You can either do so online or fill out the paper application. This program is offered joint with the Faculty of Graduate Studies at Dalhousie University. So when you print off the application, it will be the Dalhousie graduate form. Do not forget that there are special forms that need to be filled out by your references, and we do require two. They do need to fill out those forms, but they can, of course, submit their own letters alongside those forms. There is a $70 application fee associated with this. It can be paid online, or it can be paid by check or money order. Be sure to make that out to the University of King's College. And then there's a letter of intent that we look for, and I think that it might be nice for us to go into what we look for in a letter of intent. We do encourage people to submit a resume because it gives us a good sense of what you've been doing and what your background lies in. And we do suggest that you get your applications into us by February 15th. Of course, if there is room in the program, we will adjudicate applications on a rolling basis. And in fact, we are accepting applications right now to the master program, and we'll be adjudicating them on an ongoing basis. We just can't guarantee with a wonderful program like this that there's going to be space available after February 15th. So be sure to get those applications in. And of course, it's a June start date, isn't it?
It's a June start date, but particularly for international applicants,
yes,
we have had some outstanding international students in this program, some really, really excellent students. But if you think you're going to have to get a visa and this starts in June, I would encourage anyone who's thinking about it to apply quickly.
Absolutely. So we can get you your decision, get you your letter, and you can work on getting your visa status. Okay, let's get to some of these questions that we have. Yes. Will mentors be assigned for the professional program, or do students pursue their own mentors?
That's a good question, and I forgot to mention that the professional project is done with the guidance of mentors who are working professionals out in the field. So generally, the faculty member responsible for that course recruits the mentors, spends a lot of time trying to match the right mentor to the right project.
Right.
So students are encouraged to suggest mentors if there's someone that they would really like to work with. And we always run by the mentor's name past students to make sure that they're a good fit. If for some reason the mentorship relationship doesn't work out, then the student will be mentored by the faculty member who's teaching that course.
Wonderful. And that came from Iris Estrada, that question. Our next question.
Hi, Iris.
Hi, Iris. This next question comes from Ann Calder, and she asks, what are you expected to submit? Work already done, or just areas of interest?
It depends, both really. We would definitely like to see work done, so we want someone with a strong foundation in journalism. You know, we have had people whose journalism degree was taken many years before, and thinking of one person, you know, who did a lot of documentaries, wasn't really, or a lot of video production, wasn't in journalism.
Right.
But we'd like to see your journalism. But also that letter of intent matters a lot too.
Yeah, the letter of intent. Let's elaborate on the kinds of things that you expect coming out of that.
Basically, we'd like people to show their chops. We would like people to show us why they have the motivation to do this project or do this program and what they plan to do with it. So if you're applying to the investigative stream, it's really helpful if you have an idea of what kind of investigations you're interested in, or you can show your interest in investigative journalism. If you're applying to the new ventures stream, it's really helpful if you can say, not just I want to start something new, but here are some of the ideas of what I want to start, or here's why I need this particular training to do that. In new ventures, some of the programming is also delivered in conjunction with the Faculty of Management.
Yeah, and on that note, we have a question from a student who's interested in new ventures and wondering if you need to have prior business
Absolutely
experience.
Not. Very few journalists have prior business experience. So the first stream-specific course in that program is Business Fundamentals for Journalists. So you do not have to have any prior business experience. This is the point of the program, is to get journalists up to speed so that they can control the future of journalism, and it's not just people who've done commerce degrees.
Wonderful. That's very encouraging to know. We have a question from Rebecca Zimmer, who wants to know, what is the average to shoot for when working toward gaining entry to this program? So I think that we mentioned that typically we look for an overall B average, but of course we encourage all applicants to apply. We take a very holistic approach to admission, and so we do want to see everything that you have to offer, so that if we can't accept you to the program now, we might be able to offer you some guidance on how you could be admissible in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I would always say shoot for the best grades you can get that are consistent with also, learning as much as you can and showing your interest in journalism.
Absolutely. Approximately how many hours are spent in class, and will people have an opportunity to freelance? Again, another question from Iris.
A lot of hours are spent in class. It's a pretty intense program. Not as many hours as in our one-year Bachelor of Journalism program. There is more self-directed. There's not a lot of time to freelance in this program. We had one student who was freelancing through the summer for Thomson Reuters, but I believe found that in the fall that was just too much.
Right.
She couldn't do that. Some students have managed to parlay some of their digital journalism into, they've sold some pieces that were class assignments. Last year, one student, some of the work that he did, he ended up doing some blogging for Huffington Post.
Wow.
But it's not ideally suited for also developing freelance at the same time.
Right. One would want to immerse themselves in the program, I guess, in order to get the most out of it.
Yeah.
Our next question, another one from Ann Calder. What is the intake for this program?
Well, we cannot take more than 20 students, so 10 students in each stream. We started out in the first year very small at the good advice of our former president, Bill Barker. And this year we have 10 students, and I would be very happy with 10 to 15 next year.
Fantastic. And from Jessie Smith, a question, for our portfolio, do you want examples of our work in journalism, or is it okay to submit other works such as poetry or short stories?
I would not submit poetry and short stories.
Right.
Maybe in the narrative nonfiction or in the creative nonfiction degree, but I would want to see journalism.
Excellent. And another question from Iris. For the portfolio samples, is there a preference for length of a submission?
I'm not sure if that means the number of different pieces or if that means the length of a piece.
I
If you
suppose we
send
could
me a
address both.
50,000 word piece, I'm probably not going to read it all. But if I do read it all, that means that it's such an incredibly fine piece of journalism that we'll just be fighting over you to get you into our program. So that's a pretty vague answer. Send us your best stuff. Send us, 4 or 5, 6 pieces at the most, not more than that.
Yeah.
And if your best stuff is long form, send us long form. We may not read every word of it, but we'll read enough to know that it's really good.
Fantastic. Another question for you. This was sent earlier in the day. I am already a blogger. What will the New Ventures program teach me?
Well, I'd love to have a conversation with this person. So whoever you are, I encourage you to call me or email me. I'd like to know if you're able to make a living blogging right now and how you see your blog developing. So if you feel like you've got a really good handle on the business model for your blog, you see it as sustainable and scalable, then there might be pieces, there might be parts of the digital curriculum that would be really valuable to you, but the New Ventures program might not be the one. But if you're doing the blog as a labor of love because you believe that this content is needed by the world, but you really don't know how to make that sustainable, then the New Ventures stream will help you figure that out.
That's wonderful. Another question that we had earlier today, and I think it's a great question, and one I think only you can answer. Is it better to do the Master of Journalism coming directly out of your degree, or is it a benefit to have some years under your belt, or is there something to be said for both?
You're probably getting the idea by now that I don't really give yes/no answers.
It's true. No, I'm
not good
glad.
at black and white answers. I think it depends who you are and what your goals are.
Yeah.
I have found that a number of people want to do the Master of Journalism, realize that they don't have the prerequisite, so they come into the Bachelor of Journalism for 8 months, and then realize that they really want to hone those skills before they do a specialization. That seems to be a pretty common path, and one that I would encourage. But if you finished your Bachelor of Journalism and you realize, no, I really want multimedia and I don't have the digital, and that's where I want to play. I want to understand Popcorn Maker, and I want to be the best at Storyfy, and I want to really be able to use social media in a journalistic way, not just a social way, and I don't have that yet. Or I really want to be able to data scrape, and I want to be able to download the police files and figure out, is the response time in the poor neighborhoods the same as the response time in the rich neighborhoods? Then this is the program for you. It depends where you are and what your goals are.
Wonderful. And is there anything else that you might like to add that you think would be helpful for our future applicants to know?
Well, I would encourage people who have questions about the program to contact me. I'm happy to put people in contact with students in the 1-year Bachelor of Journalism program, in the Master of Journalism program. The other thing I should mention in the Master of Journalism, it's a very new program. We're just in our 2nd year. Both years we have this wonderful split between mid-career journalists and people who have either just or very recently graduated. And I think that's a real benefit for both of them. So for instance, Stephen Puddicombe from National CBC reporter was in the program the first year, and he has told me over and over again not how much he liked the curriculum, but how much he gained by contact with those students. And I know that those students, having access to a fellow student who had been in the field working in the top ranks of the field for 20 years, for those younger students, that was good too. So I'm very happy with the mix, and I guess that's something we hadn't really talked about. But I would encourage you to contact me if you have any questions.
That is wonderful, and I think that's an important thing to note, is we're hoping that the discussion doesn't end here. All of us are available over the phone or via email for one-on-one consultation with anybody who is interested in the programs. For me, I'm at tara.broom@ukings.ca, Kelly is at kelly.tohill@ukings.ca, and Stephen Kimber is at stephen.kimber@ukings.ca. ukings.ca. We all have very interesting spelling in our names, so I would encourage you to check out our website, www.ukings.ca. You'll be able to access our email addresses on that website, but also just to read up on the content that we've presented here this evening, if you're the kind of person that likes to sit and absorb content by reading it on your own. I'd like to extend a sincere thank you to Kelly Tohill for joining us this evening, and to Stephen Kimber for giving us his time earlier. I think that this is a really valuable opportunity for the students who are interested in this program. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in this evening, and we hope to be corresponding with you soon. Good evening, and thank you.
Good night.